Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Anti Shuffle podcast, your local rock and metal podcast coming at you live from Saudi, where we cover the local news and the international news. We are your hosts. My name is Abdullah Muzaj, or Abdullah, also known as Muzaj, and with me as well is Mansour.
Hi, how's it going?
We have a lot of stuff to cover today. We have a pretty interesting main topic, or the kind of الهرجة أو الموضوع that we picked today is pretty close to our hearts, and it's near and dear to us. So we're pretty excited to get to it. But before that, we have, as always, we have a bit of news to talk about. Um, from artists like Corey Taylor, from Electro-Harmonix. In terms of music reviews and music singles that we're going to be talking about, the stuff that we've been listening to, what do we have today, Mansour?
We've got a good one today. We've got new music reviews from bands like Cattle Decapitation, Sleep Token, Foo Fighters, King Gizzard, Mutoid Man, and many more. So stick around, guys. It's a good one.
Absolutely. And then we're going to, for today's episode, we felt like maybe you guys need to know where we're coming from a little bit, so to speak. So
Mm,
we're going to be talking about our, as it stands today, top five bands of all time. And we're going to
definitely.
mention as well honorable mentions, of course, because we found it really difficult. We had a hard time coming up with this list of top five. So we had to throw in the honorable mentions.
Absolutely.
So without any further ado, the news. All right. So starting off with this piece of news that you shared, Mansour, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this? It's coming out of Pantera, one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah, same here. Well, I mean, for those who have been living under a rock for the past year or two, Pantera kind of reunited with some of the most prominent musicians in the metal scene.
Yeah.
And Charlie Benante from Anthrax and Zach Wild. So the reunion has been met with much controversy. The band are calling it a celebration tour because obviously the two founding members of the band, the Abbott brothers, have passed away.
Yeah.
So fans have either been completely for it or completely against it. Charlie Benante came out and said, the decision to name or to go on under the Pantera moniker wasn't his. It was, I guess, the other parties in Philip Anselmo and Rex Brown, and I think the estate of the Abbott brothers. So this, yeah, he's just trying to clarify that. I
Yeah.
think he and Zach were more or less hired guns. They were asked to do this, I guess, because they were, obviously good friends with the guys from Pantera, but also because they're the ones that could nail the songs pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was really happy when I heard that they're kind of doing a reunion and going on tour. Obviously, Pantera's, Far Beyond Driven, Cowboys from Hell, and The Great Southern Trendkill um, are some of the most interesting and formative albums for me as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen any of the live footage of them performing. Um, and obviously, I also don't know how I feel about them using the Pantera name, but since they've been given the go ahead by the estate and the owners of the full other members as well, um, I mean, I guess it's fine. But hey, if you're a Pantera fan, I never got to see them live, so I guess this is your only opportunity to kind of see something that's that's kind of a form of Pantera live.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I'm all for it. To be honest, I think it's a great way to pay respect to those, to the legacy of the band, regardless of went on with Phil and Vinny, their sort of relationship and how it had soured and everything. I think it's just a great way to honor the legacy, and I would definitely love to go see them live. Um, I mean, I've seen some footage online, but it was, badly recorded, badly, some fan crowd, type of footage.
Yeah,
So I can't judge.
potato camera footage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to judge from those kind. I
Yeah,
try to avoid those kind of clips and stuff, but I would definitely go see them if I have the
yeah.
chance.
I don't know. Part of me is like saying the يعني جاي Phil Anselmo. Now he's like willing to kind of let bygones be bygones and like come back to the Pantera name and tour after the two most prominent members of this band died. Um, and is it just a cash grab, or you're just like خلاص, you're running out of money and you want to go on tour? And is it also Rex trying to make money because he just got a deal with Gibson, and it's kind of one of the things that they probably part of the deal they pushed into to go on tour and kind of promote this new signature bass line that he has and things like
Mm,
that. I don't know, like I love Pantera, but like this, I was really excited when I heard the news, but then like I kind of just went sour on it and kind of like, ugh, whatever. It's just another, one of our old school idols going back and reuniting again, in a way that just doesn't feel good. I guess I don't know, but in anyways,
yeah.
like I said, if you're one of those people who are probably a lot of people didn't get the chance to see Pantera live, then this is, I guess, your the next best thing, and you get to see Zach Wild live as well. So yeah, whatever. Anyways, next piece of news here: Electro-Harmonix releases a unashamed. I hate this title. Like it's such a stupid way of writing things. Like
Uh,
it's written. It feels like it's written by someone who's just like. Uh, I don't know, far removed from like this world of gear and music and stuff like that.
yeah.
Unashamedly metal with this new Hell Melter distortion. And honestly, the name of this pedal as well is kind of like it feels like a bunch of marketing people in suits got together and they're like, all right, this pedal is heavy. This pedal is hardcore. What do we name it? Hell Melter. Like ugh, it's just so annoying. It's such an annoying name.
It
But
is. It is.
in any case, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about this as well because all right, so basically just a very quick history lesson about this pedal is based on one of the most legendary pedals of all time, and I brought it here with me so that I can show it on camera,
Mhm.
the heavy metal HM2 by Boss. And this is the Waza Craft edition. This is the reissue that they did a few years ago. So this pedal basically defined the Swedish death metal scene. A lot of bands from that era, like Entombed, at the Gates, I guess, as well, you can say, even In Flames to a certain extent. Anyways, a lot of bands from that era really defined that sound using this pedal. And basically, the trick was in it basically take all the knobs and just set it to 11. And you end up
Yeah.
getting this gnarly chainsaw like sounding tone, which I love, by the way, and I use all the time. And what ended up happening though is that okay, fine, this pedal, didn't sell well. By the way, this pedal was not a commercial success, and it died off. They stopped. The boss like discontinued and stopped making it. But all of a sudden, there was like kind of a resurgence of like American hardcore metal bands, like Trap Them, like Nails, like Rotten Sound. I don't know. Like there's so many bands that started using this tone that a lot of companies started making like clones of them. Even Boss reissued it again. Like I said, they made this Japanese made version of it. And honestly, for me, I don't know if I need another one of these. Like I have this pedal, I have three other pedals that basically do the same thing, but in a different variety. I have one from God City Instruments, which is the Kurt Ballou company, but it's a fuzz pedal instead of being a distortion pedal. Anyways, that's my rant.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I mean, the Boss Metal Zone is also it's funny because it's there's a
No,
clutch
no, not
song
the metal
called
zone. I'll just very quickly correct you there. It's not the metal. It's the heavy metal. It's the
heavy metal.
HM2, the heavy metal. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
the metal zone is a completely different beast.
Okay, because that was like a title of a Clutch song, a recent, very recent
Yes,
Clutch
yes,
song.
a great song. Yeah,
Yeah, so I always thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, I mean it's the Boss pedal and all these kind of pedals. I don't know. I don't own one personally. I'd love to, but this one, yeah, the name is a bit campy. It's a bit silly, but yeah, as you said, it's like let's go for the funniest and most campy, brand ever. How can we do that? And they did it.
yeah,
I don't know how it plays, to be honest. I mean, I need to check out the demos, but I think it's a funny kind of
yeah.
piece of news.
Yeah, I don't know if you would be into this pedal because, again, like I said, it does that particular harsh sound. You're like, I know your style of music, and it's probably not gonna fit there. But, however, I'll tell you something. Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, David Gilmour at some point used this pedal, like the HM2.
Really?
Yeah. Because again, it doesn't have to do that harsh Swedish death metal tone thing. Like you don't have to set the knobs all the way to 12 or whatever in order to use it. You can set it up in a way where you'll get a kind of whatever different types of distortion sounds out of it. And apparently David, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I remember this. We'll need to do a fact check on this, but he had it in his repertoire for a while.
Okay,
So you can get different
interesting.
sounds of it. You can get different sounds of it, but by and large, people buying this pedal and this are expecting a specific type of sound and a specific kind of way of using it. But one of the cool things about this, it has a built-in gate because if you know this sound, if you know this tone, and if you ever used one of these pedals, like it generates a lot of noise. So
Hmm.
I guess it's pretty cool for $176. It's a bit pricey, but there's a lot of features in there. But I don't know. I would just go with one of the other. I would either go with the original, or if I already have one, I don't know if I would buy one. I'm not sure if I need another one in my life. But
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
Electro-Harmonix releasing another HM2 clone.
I have to say though, I like their pedals, Electro-Harmonix. They have some pretty
Oh
good
yeah,
ones. Yeah, in
yeah, the
general, like
legendary. Yeah,
they make great pedals.
yeah. Their fuzz pedals are legendary, and you know one of the most sought out after pedals as well. So yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
super fuzz, man. Who doesn't own one?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Electro-Harmonix. Um, Corey Taylor releases and I put this piece of news because I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit about this. Corey Taylor just released a new music video for his new song Beyond for his upcoming album called CMF2. Do you know what CMF stands for, Mansoor?
No, honestly, I don't.
So actually, so the first album was called, I think, CMFT. But
Okay, now I
anyway,
get it. Now I get it.
Corey, mother effing Taylor.
Wow,
Oh man,
how edgy!
yeah,
How
yeah, I
edgy!
know. So, did you listen to this? Did you listen to this previous album? And did you listen to this song?
No, I haven't. I listened to this song, but I'm not really a big Corey Taylor or Slipknot fan.
Oh,
But
okay,
I did listen to this song. I had the first Slipknot album, but I didn't really continue listening to them uh,
okay.
personally. So, but this, I was surprised because I didn't know Corey Taylor played lead guitar and can solo on the guitar, so that caught me off guard a bit. So, excuse my
Yeah,
ignorance when it comes to that, but yeah, I was a bit surprised there.
yeah. I really don't like anything about his personal project. Like this, the previous album sucked.
Okay.
It's just horrible music. It's Corey Taylor trying to make um, basically trying to be Nickelback is what I got the sense is that he's just
Yeah.
trying to make accessible like mainstream rock. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like I love listening to mainstream rock. There are some mainstream rock bands that I really really enjoy and I don't mind at all. But it's not good. Like there's nothing good about any of the video is super campy and annoying. Um, the songs are really annoying from the previous album. I don't know. I haven't heard anything else from this new album. But man, I guess if you're really, really, really into Corey Taylor, you might enjoy it. I mean, his vocal performance is still strong. He's a really good vocalist,
Yeah.
but the lyrics are campy. The singing and the music is campy. It's just, it's not good.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I can't say much about it, or Corey Taylor. I mean, I'll give him credit for having a good stage presence, because I've seen Stone Sour play live. At
Oh
the
yeah, I was
very.
just about gonna ask you, like,
Yeah,
so Stone Sour, you don't
yeah.
like Stone Sour either?
I didn't really attempt to listen to them, or
Yeah.
but maybe I heard some good things about them. But when I've seen them live, they put on a really really good show.
Do you like any new metal, Mansoor?
Oh yeah,
So
new
what's your
metal.
favorite new? Yeah.
I love the first Korn albums.
Okay.
I
Deftones
like
probably as well.
Deftones, although I have to say I don't believe they're new metal. I think the first two albums were kind of new metal, but then they
Yeah,
completely
but that's
switched gears. I
yeah.
mean, okay, but
They're lumped
Sys-
into that. Yeah.
they're lumped into it. Static
Yeah.
X,
Okay.
System of a Down.
All right. So what I was
Mudvayne,
trying
those
to
kind of bands.
establish with that question is that you're not an elitist in that sense. So it's not
Nah.
you didn't appreciate Slipknot because just you didn't appreciate that sound, not because you didn't like new metal.
No, I listened to the first Slipknot. I have the first Slipknot album. I thought it was okay at the time. I wasn't
Yeah.
like blown away by it. I mean, there's some good moments there, like the song, what is it, Sick, and
Yeah.
Eyeless,
I
and
mean,
all that kind of
yeah.
song. Yeah, it was
I mean,
good.
Wait and Bleed is an iconic song as well. So,
Yeah, yeah.
anyways, unfortunately, I really like Corey Taylor's vocals and everything that like his influence on the scene and everything. But like everything that they've been putting out, anything that he's been involved in recently hasn't been that great. The new Slipknot album has been disappointing. This is really disappointing. Yeah. Anyways, moving on from this disappointing news. Uh, so apparently, a new metal band called Silly Goose
Mm,
performed live at a Waffle House in the United States of America. It's just I just find it surprising and very gutsy how like all these hardcore and it's super hardcore and punk, right? It has that spirit in it, right?
yeah,
That they are willing to go and perform live in these venues where you have no where you have no right to perform. You shouldn't be performing live at a Denny's. You shouldn't be performing live at a Waffle House. Well, look, you can see people in the background there eating eating waffles and eating their food, and he's playing all this aggressive music. I mean, can you imagine if like one of like the hardcore and heavy bands that we like, Creative Waste, for example, playing at Bake or something here? it's,
yeah. That's wild, man. I mean, that's just hilarious. I mean, I think they might be using it as a marketing kind of move or strategy to go viral.
yeah,
And the Waffle House, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of guerrilla marketing or whatever they call it. Uh, but yeah, it's a funny video. I mean, you guys should check it out just for the pure entertainment factor.
yeah.
I mean,
I mean, it's
it's
pretty punk. Like, if you go read the article about how the other guys went on, were able to book Denny's, they literally just paid the deposit for booking the venue, and
Mhm.
like the management didn't ask them any questions on what are you doing and why. Why are you
Oh
booking? So
really?
they literally, yes, they basically paid the deposit. It was like I think I read like it was $100 or something. They paid a deposit, and then they just showed up with all their equipment and all these fans and all these people moshing inside of the Denny's, and they caused a lot of damage, obviously. And I can't remember how much the damage is that they caused, but they caused a lot of damage, and and they had to stop the show halfway through as well. But yeah, like what if let's say your band gets an offer, or like so let's say your lead singer from your band decides tells you know what let's we got this gig to perform at I don't know one of the restaurants here that like where you have no right to perform a rock or a heavy songs like bake or like I don't know I'm hungry or something
Hey
or
man,
Herpes.
we'll play for food. We'll play for free food.
All right, so Wolfram will play for food. Next piece of news. Actually, we don't have next piece of news here, dude. We have so much music to talk about, and I want to get through them because there's some really interesting stuff in there. So let's get into. All right, so we have Denava. The album is called Nothing But Nothing. This was a album recommended by you. Um, I'll just quickly give you my notes here.
Yeah.
I I um, I, I dig the way this album sounds, uh, but for me, uh, I don't dig bands that try to sound too old school. And to me, it sounds like they're Iron Maiden, but like on crack. But the overall sound and the kind of old school vibe that they have, it's not my thing. So I didn't particularly enjoy that record. But I kind of appreciated how it sounds. I appreciated the kind of the way it was recorded and the way it sounds. But yeah, not really a record for me for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. These guys are obviously trying to go very retro with their sound.
Yeah,
They're very much about that whole '80s classic metal vibe. I mean, if you throw in classic Iron Maiden and Ozzy and those kind of music, and just stir it in a pot, this is the result you'll get. Yeah, I'm always skeptical of those kind of bands because I feel like you know I want to hear something new, and trying to recapture something old is always a bit of a risk. Some bands can pull it off pretty well. I have to say, like Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats, is a band that does it very very well. Here, these guys they do an okay job. They do a decent job with that. The musician the level of musicianship is pretty high. Uh, some moments on the album, like the song, what was it, Enchanted Villain, it sounds something straight out of the Heaven and Hell album from Black Sabbath. uh, but there are really really good moments. The instrumental song, Season of Vengeance, is really really cool, especially if you're a you know a guitar nerd. But overall, I thought it was a decent album. Nothing really that special. Again, if your vibe is more about that '80s classic sound, classic metal sound, then you might enjoy this.
yeah. So are you gonna like be listening to this record often, or to you like it was a good once listen and then that's it? Khalas, you're done with it.
No, I think I don't know. I listened to the songs that I liked, like "Season of Vengeance," "Nothing But Nothing," and not to be confused with the other track on the album called "Nothing But Nothing."
Nothing
Uh,
but nothing.
so yeah, those songs I think I'll be listening to,
Yeah,
coming back to. But overall, it's an all right album.
sure. I mean, okay, yeah. So if you're really into that old school sound, that all these like little influences that Mansour mentioned, but a little bit on the heavier side, I would say, then yeah, check out Danava. Um,
Sorry, this artwork
it's disgusting.
is
It's
horrible.
really, yeah, I don't like the artwork for sure. it's it's part disgusting, it's part funny as well. Like
Yeah.
there's something hilarious about this artwork. Oh my
Oh
god.
man.
But in any case, um tech death veterans, cattle
Hmm.
decap or cattle decapitation, just released their latest record, Terrasite. um you know Album artwork notwithstanding, this is a great record. I really enjoyed the overall sound and tightness. I mean, okay, it goes without saying, right? They're a tech death metal band, so at the end of the day, it is going to be incredibly tight and very articulate and very, almost surgical. But what's impressive for me is the way, like, it was all captured as well. This record was produced by Dave Otero, who's also like his other work is he's done basically almost all of the cattle decap albums, and also some recent tech death upcomers like Archspire or Archspire. But but yeah, I really like the way this record sounds. I really like the songs. Obviously these guys are super technical, and I even really appreciate it. Doesn't have to be all fast and tech. There are some songs that kind of dial it back a little bit, and you get like that slower, kind of heavier sound, and they do that really well as well. The only thing is that I really appreciated it, and it's something that I also noticed from their previous like record, Atlas. I think it was called Atlas Death or something, but that. And I'm curious to hear what you think about it. That weird, like
Mm,
gang vocals that happen, the clean, the sort of clean vocals that they do that sound like an alien hive mind talking to its like children or whatever, to its species.
yeah,
It's kind of, for me, I really appreciate it because it kind of fits thematically, like the album and the way they sound. But I can understand that if it sounds too weird for some people. But what did you think of it? Did you find it endearing and good, or did you find it too weird?
yeah. I mean, tech death is not really my brand of death metal.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I was impressed by obviously the very technical playing, the different vocal styles from like the very deep and guttural vocals and the screechy type of vocals and those kind of weird alien sounds that you hear.
yeah,
It kind of reminded me of that movie The Fly from the 80s with Jeff
sure,
Goldblum.
yes.
um, but yeah, I mean, I always get that image in my head for some reason. But it goes, of course, they're trying to get a message across, obviously. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's an acquired taste. Like as you said, it's really sometimes not for everyone. But if you appreciate that, those tight kind of sounding albums with very intricate playing, I'd have to say. Uh, yeah, this album could be for you, and also the guitar work. I mean, the the leads and stuff like that. I found was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a tech death metal album. It's honestly not breaking any grounds. It's not making
Yeah.
any kind of new statement or evolving in the kind of the genre in any way. But if you're someone who's into tech death and enjoys that particular sound, then yeah, this is a great record and you'll enjoy it. And I highly recommend definitely listening to it. Cattle Decap, Terrasite. All right, our next band here, Haken, Fauna. Um, so Mansour actually turned me on to this album. I kind of remember listening to them. And so what's funny is that Mansour was like, "Yeah, do you know the band Hack?" And they just released an album, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know, they sound familiar." And I went through their Spotify, and I remember seeing that particular record that they had that predominantly was yellow. The color of the album was yellow,
Mm.
and I remember I'm like, "Yeah, I listened to this band before, but I don't know why I didn't pay attention to them." But after listening to this record, I remembered why I didn't like them, or I kind of maybe I realized why I stopped listening to them or paying attention to them. So this is an interesting record because for the first time ever, I found myself saying, it'd be great if they release an instrumental version of this album. I'm not someone who's into bands that release instrumental version of their normal records or records with vocals. Dance Gavin Dance does that a lot. A lot of other bands do that, like Protest the Hero as well. But I'm not into that. But for some reason, with this band, I was actually saying yes, they should. I could not the stand the vocals. The vocals for me hampered this entire record. I really appreciated everything around the vocals. Like I love, yeah, yeah. Okay, loved maybe is a strong word, but I loved the instrumentation was really strong and it was really really good. It's just taken down by this. For me, my personal opinion, I found the vocals incredibly annoying. Like I could not stand listening to any of the songs because of it, which is disappointing because the instrumentation, like I said, around it is so strong. They have this proggy sound. The tones are really cool. It sounds really cool instrumentally, but vocally, I just couldn't stand it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, this prog metal genre is a very blanket statement. So I felt like their brand of prog just didn't really appeal to me that much. And I love progressive rock and progressive metal, but yeah, the singer kind of overdoes it. Yeah, I mean, he knows how to hit the right notes and all of that, but it's sometimes it's not just about that. It's about what you do with with your instrument. Yeah, I have to say there's a high level of musicianship, great guitar tones, great bass, and great drumming and as well. But yeah, I just could not. I don't know. It did not appeal to me at all.
Yeah, yeah, I agreed. So, as a personal rating, I'm never going to listen to this record again, and unless they change their vocalist or the vocalist decides to change his style, I'm probably never going to pay attention to this band again.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to listen to whatever they release. I'm being a bit too aggressive here, but I am probably going to listen to whatever the new thing they release because I would be hoping that they have improved or changed the vocal style a little bit. But anyways, check out Fauna if you're really, really into progressive metal with annoying vocals.
Wow.
Okay, so our next record here is by a new band called Moore. And a little background story here. The way I discovered this band, well, actually, you know what? One second, I had to go to my pedal vault. So the way I discovered this band is through a German guitar and well, predominantly a pedal maker, an independent pedal maker based out of Germany. And he also makes beautiful guitars as well. So the company is called Ground Effects, and I have one of their pedals here. This one is called the Gray Skull. It's basically a rat that goes into an octave down pedal. It gives you that I don't know, that ambient kind of weird kind of noise rock metal sound. In any case, so this guy has a band, and that's how I discovered this band. It's called Moore, and they just released it over the weekend, I guess. In any case, I enjoyed this record a lot. If you're someone, first of all, it's obvious that some members of this band are into tones and pedals because the overall sound of this record is something I really appreciated. And if you're someone who's into sludge, into kind of dirty, kind of nasty sounding bass tones, if you're into slower, sludgier metal, then yeah, this is going to be really up your alley. There are places where it picks up and it kind of ups the tempo a little bit, so it's not all like a sludge fest. But overall, I really enjoyed this record, and I'm definitely going to be coming back to listen to it more, if not just for the overall sound and the tone of this record.
Yeah, I mean it's a good album. It kind of sounds samey when you go 5 tracks into it.
Yeah,
I mean, I also appreciate the sort of sludge and doom type of metal and slower type of metal. I mean, it's I think if you're into bands like Neurosis and Yob and those kind of bands, you'll appreciate this band. I
yeah,
mean, the vocals are very harsh and screamy. Although you have moments of clean vocals, of course, in the choruses and things like that. Uh, and but the tempo is more or less the same throughout the album. I felt.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I mean it. I think I'll have to give it a few more listens to let it really sink in. You know,
yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
funny. I was gonna wrap up my thoughts by saying this is, yani, if you're someone who's into Neurosis but wants something a bit heavier, then this is going to be really up your alley. Um, but you just said it, and you also mentioned Yob, which is another, yeah, great example. If you're someone who's
yeah,
into Yob as well, then definitely you'll enjoy this record. But yeah, overall, like I just really liked the organic sound and how loose it felt, and definitely that kick drum sound as well was really good. It's really organic and like vibey and roomy sounding. Anyways, really enjoyed the sound of this record. If you're into sludge metal, if you're into Neurosis, Yob, these kind of slower bands, then yeah, do check this out and check out Ground Effects as well. Next record we have here, Mansoor, you
Sleep
got Sleep
Token.
Token. and I'm super super excited to hear your thoughts and opinion on this record. Um,
Are you trying to troll me or something?
no, it's just funny. It's a reoccurring theme here. Okay, and I don't know if we're gonna bring up the boomer scale for this one.
No, I'll surprise you by saying I actually kind of enjoyed this album.
Kind of.
Kind of enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean
Okay, cool.
it's a very, I feel, a different, very unique brand of metal. I mean, there is a metal is the base sound for this band, but they do a lot of experimentation. They cross different boundaries with their music. They have some trap beats and different songs like what is it, like "Take Me Back to Eden," "Granite," "Ascensionism," which I felt "Ascensionism" was the best song on the album. They have some very, I'd say, poppy and catchy tunes like Aqua Regia. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And the closing
Probably.
track, Euclid. Uh, I felt like the song "Are You Really Okay" is a fantastic ballad, um, very well written, kind of about reaching out to somebody to help them. Uh, so yeah, I mean the this is overall a good album. It's not without some filler and moments where I felt like, okay, you're overdoing it sometimes. Uh, but the singer stands out. I think he has a very unique voice. The singer's name is Vessel. So there are
Yeah,
apparently two band
nobody
members.
knows their identity. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows their identities. I think they have this gimmicky stage presence. They all wear masks on stage. The singer is called Vessel One, and the other musician is called Vessel Two. So if you're that's a bit funny.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, it's a good album, I'd say. I'm surprised how it really got a lot of listens and views. I mean, this band is going very popular and
Dude,
mainstream.
they are
I'm very surprised.
super popular, and I'm not surprised because the like you mentioned, I agree. Actually, I'm gonna basically echo the same sentiments. A lot of what you said. I also felt that Ascensionism is the what probably the greatest track on this album. It really stood out to me, and it was a really good track. Um, Again, very good at mixing pop and electronic pop elements with metalcore. This is to me was a very surprising record. I was really surprised by how much I like this record, especially considering how their previous record was so mediocre. Their previous record that they released, there was only really one song that I enjoyed, Alkaline. Otherwise, the entire record was so mediocre. And then they come around with this record, and it's just banger after banger. And but I agree with you as well. There was some filler here and there, but they weren't enough to interrupt the experience for me. Just going back to your point of their popularity, I'm not surprised at all. They are incredible at writing catchy music that is, that can go heavy sometimes, that incorporates like even some trip hop elements. Um, I love this track. Sorry, this record. I love this record, and I'm gonna be listening to this a lot as well. It's great. Kind of, I don't know if I would, if I can say a palate cleanser, but it's great to listen to in between like all the other heavy stuff that we might be listening to and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um, super cool record. I really like this direction for them as well. I hope they can keep innovating and coming up with more stuff that innovates and kind of builds on the success and the achievement that they've done with this record.
Yeah, I have to say that the overall mood of the album is very sad, very depressing. You can hear it in the singer's voice as
Yeah,
well. So if that's your kind of vibe, do check it out. But I mean, there's a lot of beauty as well in the music that sort of balances out all the dark elements. So it's do check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we probably don't need to tell people to check it out.
Yeah,
This album is so popular that
yeah.
people have already probably checked it out. But anyways, Sleep Tokens' new record, "Take Me Back to Eden," fantastic record. Everybody should listen to it. Next record here, holy moly, dude! Dude, I'm just gonna straight up and say it. I hate this record,
Well, thanks for bringing it up because hated it
dude.
too.
What is this, dude? It's
It's
I'm honestly so like, and I'm reason why I have such a an aggressive reaction to this record is because I previously really respected this band. So the Ocean is a well respected and well known name in the kind of prog metal scene, like the new modern prog metal, flavor of prog metal that I'm talking about. So like bands in the from the modern age that get lumped into this genre. Um, and for me, when I say I respected them, and I particularly enjoyed one record that they released called Anthropocentric. Okay, I have that record on CD, and if you go listen to that record, you'll see why I liked it or I liked them because again, they were like this prog metal band that had, and the album has a variety of different sounds. There's like some really slower kind of methodical songs that are proggy, but then there are some upbeat faster songs, some really catchy songs. So there were different flavors on that record that made that band stand out. But
mm,
holy moly, dude! What we've in our previous podcast, we reviewed Acacia Strain's sludgy album. I don't know if you've had the chance to listen to it, but it's a record with 3 songs. And the songs, there's one song on this album that I really liked called Bog Walker. It's 17 minutes long and it doesn't feel that long because it's so good and it's so well written. This band managed to write 5 minute songs that felt like they were 30 minutes long.
yeah,
And I just could not wait for the songs to finish. The only track that stood out for me on this album and, that was listenable was the Unconformities, I think it was called. It's the one with that features a lot of sax and there was like a female vocal in it.
mm,
That's the only song that stood out, and that's the only song. And when I was listening to that, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is not bad." But the rest of it, tonally, sound-wise, structure-wise, it's just so boring. Like it's such a boring record. I could not enjoy it.
yeah. I'm with you. I'm totally with you on this one. I mean, it was a very boring album. The songs go nowhere, especially when they seem to be hitting some kind of a climax. It just ends up going nowhere. There's only one song that I appreciated was "Seas of Reeds," but the rest of the album, no. I mean, I don't get the use of sax and maybe some other brass instruments. It added nothing to the overall quality of the songs. It sounded very samey and boring. uh, I don't know. It there are a lot of I felt like different types of influences. I sometimes I detect like a perfect circle or influence at times, like a Depeche Mode influence. But honestly, it did not do anything for me. I mean, it really just was a boring album that went nowhere for the most part. Um,
So boring. If you're in like if you're a prog metal, if a prog head or whatever you call yourself, and you say that you like this record, you're lying. You're just saying that because you want to. You just want to say that.
yeah,
It's like the equivalent of the new Metallica, album coming out and like being a metal, like being really into Metallica and saying that it's good.
yeah. I mean, that one song you mentioned, that was a song that actually really annoyed me because there's this one line that he repeats saying, "Don't turn on the bright lights." He keeps on
Yeah,
repeating it, and then that's it. There's nothing. He adds nothing to it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Anyways, disappointing album. Let's not waste any more time on this record.
yeah.
Do not go listen to this record. It sucks. Anyways, moving on to something a little better. Yakuza,
Hmm.
Sutra. I don't know how you felt about this record, but okay. So when I put on this record, the first track actually threw me off. Um, I was ready to hate that album. Actually, I was ready to not like this album because I was gonna have another syndrome. The same thing with Haken, which was, this is a great sounding record, but unfortunately the vocal performances are not strong. And I was into the previous record, Samsara, when it first came out. So I knew that they had like a weird vocal style, but like when I heard the opening track, it was a bit too much. Like the atonal thing, like the atonal singing thing, out of tune singing thing was kind of too weird. And I was like, ugh, okay, this is gonna be a disappointing record. But pleasantly, to my to my surprise, pleasantly, the rest of the album actually is good. Um, I really liked their, you know, again, they're one of those bands that put a lot of horn, brass, and like sax elements into their music. I really appreciate that. The vocals are not bad. If you're someone who's into Baroness, it's kind of the same sludgy sounding, atonal kind of sounding singing, and vocals, harsh vocals as well. And the overall sound of this band, again, if you're into like sludgier sound, like really dirty sounding, bass instrumentation. If you're into Mastodon, if you're into early Mastodon, obviously,
Yeah.
then yeah, you will love this. This is a great record. I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to be listening to it because I love Mastodon. Their recent stuff has been kind of disappointing, so
Hmm.
it's kind of nice to hear a band kind of pick up the torch where they kind of left off. From Leviathan and some Blood Mountain and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on this. I mean, the vocals need time to to sink in and appreciate. But great guitar work. I feel like especially on songs like Alice, Psychic Malaise, Embers, those kind of tracks really stood out to me. I hear some Alice in Chains influence, oddly, on the song Psychic Malaise. Into Forever is a good song. Yeah, the singer, I think his name is Bruce Lamont. Uh, I think his vocals overall sit well with the melodies, the riffs, all the instrumentation, and the brass instruments don't feel very forced. Overall, it's a good album. I'll again some filler here, unfortunately, but it's a pretty good album. I'll listen to
Yeah,
it again.
yeah,
But though
for sure.
my only comment is the production. I felt like the production could have been better. That's my only criticism, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I hear you. Um, I didn't feel that way because I got the sense that it was purposeful.
Mm,
Again, they're like just a dirty sounding band. At the end of the day, it's probably like it's probably part of their sound. It's probably the sound that they were seeking, right?
yeah.
But in any case, yeah, if you're into early Mastodon, if you're into like vocals that sound a bit, you have a tolerance for vocals that sound a bit weird and out of atonal a little bit. But again, they sit and fit with the overall song structure and the music writing. So Yakuza, check them out. All right,
Yeah.
so we're done with the albums. We're moving on now to singles. This is a track that you added to the list. I like the Hives. I really like the
Really?
Hives. Yes, yes, I really enjoy the Hives. I love their brand of high energy rock.
Mm,
Tick tick boom. Like I'm not I'm not the kind of person that will mention or name like deep cuts from them uh, because I'm not someone who's a super fan of the Hives, but whatever I listen to them, I enjoy them, and from time to time I'll go through their popular releases and just let it play and listen to it because, like I said, I really enjoy their high energy kind of brand of rock. So Tick Tick Boom and See the Idiot Walk, is that the name of the song? See the Idiot Walk.
think so.
Those are great songs, and this song is no different. It was a lot of fun for me to listen to. I really liked the way it sounded. I really liked it. It's obviously they're not breaking any new grounds. Okay, it's the Hives. It's gonna sound like the Hives. The high energy vocal kind of performances, the high energy dancey kind of almost sounding guitar riffs. Um,
Mm.
yeah, if you're expecting something different, you're gonna get disappointed. But if you wanted to hear more hives, you're gonna love this track.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun song to listen to at the end of the
Yeah,
day. I mean, they're not the kind of band that you take too seriously. And I don't mean that in a very negative way. I think their vibe is overall, very fun, very dancey, as you said. It's about good times, really. And you can just tell from the title of the track, Bogus Operandi, it's a play on words. I have to admit though that I was never really into them, and especially that whole scene in the early 2000s when you had what do you call like the bands, the Vines, the Hives, the Strokes, the White Stripes, all of those the bands. But eh, just keeping an open mind, it's an enjoyable track. I mean, I definitely encourage you to listen to it and just enjoy it for what it is.
yeah. Yeah, so if you really like high energy rock, if you really like catchy kind of rock, The Hives' Bogus Apparende is not a bad track to listen to, and highly recommend you check it out. Next track here, we have Wolf Mother.
Mm,
The song is called Stay a Little Longer. And I'll be honest with you, I really did not like this track. We mentioned earlier in the early review for Danava, um, I'm really not into bands that try to replicate a sound from a certain era. So like, I really don't like Wolf Mother. I really don't like Greta Van Fleet. Um,
mm.
I really don't like Danava. Um, yeah, this just overall vibe and overall sound of this track is not something that I got into.
Yeah, personally, I'm not super into Wolf Mother, but I really like the song. It has a very classic rock feel to it, but the riff is really nice. I mean, I enjoyed that riff. I mean, I don't know. There's not much to say. It's just your typical kind of classic rock sounding song. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I just really, again, I find the vocals annoying, um, and the that style like of bands that are trying to sound like Led Zeppelin kind
Mm.
of trend is really like something that I don't appreciate, and I don't like the bands as well. So or that kind of genre or music, So if I wanted to listen to Led Zeppelin, I'll just go listen to Led Zeppelin. But in any case, if you're into bands that are trying to imitate a certain era of rock, go listen to Wolf Mother. Mutoid Man, Mutants. I don't know how you feel about this one,
Yeah, I mean
but
yeah, nothing special. It again. It's a fun song to listen to. Very kind of punky, kind of skater punk maybe song. Uh, well, it has that sort of influence, but they do stand out from the rest of the bands in their respective genre. I feel there isn't much to say apart from it's just a cool song to listen to. It's not bad by any
yeah,
means.
yeah. I always I enjoy the Mutoid Man records. To me, it's like it's the energetic drums, the punk kind of energetic drums really go well with the almost rock kind of sounding riffs and vocals. Um, all those things mixed together, you get like a weird kind of modern sounding punk rock album, but with a bit old school influences, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I really like the way how loose this track felt. Like the guitar riff almost sounds like they made he like when he was playing it, he made mistakes, but he just kept it in. Like it almost had like this live feel to it, and that's what you get with, I guess, this band, Mutoid Man.
Yeah.
In any case, really enjoyed this song, but like you said, it's probably not the greatest Mutoid Man track, and looking forward to just seeing what other singles they'll drop and what other songs they have. But yeah, do check it out. Next song here, and I was really happy when you added this. I enjoyed the record that this album released. It had amazing artwork on it. it was called Recension, I think, or no, Resin. I need to I need to look up the name of the record, but um, really cool Italian band. Like they're a three piece, and they make really cool sludge metal. The songs are really long, and they take a while to pick up, but when they do, the payoff is good. Um, and what I really liked about this track is that it's a cover. So the band is called Ufu. Okay, I'm gonna probably butcher the name of this track, but I had to look up the name of the band in order to know how to say it. Ufu Mammoth. It is a cover for a Sound Dragon. Sound Dragon. Sound Dragon is a Dragon Force Soundgarden cover band. It's a cover band that covers both Sound Dragon and Dragon Force. Anyways, so Ufu Mammoth, Let Me Drown, a Soundgarden a cover. Okay, and what I really liked about this is that they took a song and they did their own interpretation of it. They didn't play it exactly the same way. So it's like almost if a sludge metal band did a cover of a Soundgarden song. And I really liked it. I really liked the overall sound and the overall tone of this. If you're into sludge metal, I would dare to say like maybe it didn't need to be a cover. Maybe you guys should have wrote it as an original song, like that is kind of inspired by Soundgarden. But in any case, enjoyable track.
Well, I appreciate the song not because of this of the sound of it. I mean, it sounds very much like their own interpretation, as you said. Uh, but I appreciate the fact that they took a very deep cut from the Soundgarden catalog. Granted, it's from their most popular album, but they took a deep cut and covered it. Uh, it's a great way to pay respect to a band. I mean, yeah, it's sonically, musically, it's not the best cover, I have to admit, but it's listenable. But I do appreciate the respect they're paying to Soundgarden with this cover.
Yeah. Yeah, cool cover. If you're into, and if you want to listen to a cool sludge metal song, then yeah, you go check out Ufu Mammoth and go check out their other work as well. Not bad. All right, next song here is a King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. The name of the song is Gila. Am I saying this right? Gila Monster, I
Yeah,
guess. Uh, I really like this band. They're very prolific. We've already talked about them once before in the news segment,
yeah,
I think, in an earlier podcast. They release tracks and albums very quickly, and all of them sound different, and they have like this really wide, different variety of sounds. You know, it could be experimental, psychedelic, and now, and in some cases as well, metal. And this is what apparently this new record is going to sound like. It's going to be a very metal influence. You know, I really like this track, but you know, in my mind, I'm just thinking about it. You know, am I a little biased here? Because I know King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and I know that what they go for and their overall vibe that they go for. Um, and I really like the overall sound of this album song, and the production value and the way it's produced is purposefully lo-fi and old school.
yeah.
And the song as well is written purposely in a way where it sounds kind of almost old school, you know, and like a, but with obviously a bit more modern sensibilities. But I just wonder if it wasn't King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, would I've enjoyed this track? Am I enjoying it because I know their past work and I know that this is their overall vibe, and I'm looking forward to their record? Because this could have been easily, I don't know if you disagree with me, but it could have been easily on the Deneva record. But but
Hmm.
but the vocals are less annoying for sure. You know, I appreciate the vocals a bit more. I don't know. In any case, I enjoyed this track, and if you're a fan of King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, and you have you're open to as well their metal tendencies and influences, then yeah, you'll enjoy this track.
I love this song. I love this band. I'm a big fan. As you said, they're very prolific and have a huge body of work. Which I'm still kind of discovering. But they're known for playing different sort of genres in their own style. From folk to jazz to psychedelic rock and now metal. But for me, their album Infest the Rat's Nest, which was their own way of, which was their first metal album, was just fantastic from start to finish. They play like super thrashy songs, and like in songs in like classic metal style, like Motorhead. So I really loved that album, and I wish they would come up with another metal album at some point, and it seems like they did. Uh, so yeah, I love this song, and I can't wait for the album to
Yeah,
be released.
yeah,
Petro
definitely check
Dragon
out this
Apocalypse, apparently.
Petro. What is it called? Petrochemicals apocalypse. Petro Dragon apocalypse.
Petro Dragon Apocalypse,
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and yeah, again, if you've this is the first time you're hearing about King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, if you're into like psychedelic experimental rock and metal, then definitely you have a lot of work to go through. Next, oh yeah, next band we have here is a regional release. It's a band from Egypt. And if I'm not mistaken, they're signed under the Wall of Sound Dark Mode record label, which is a local record label here in Saudi, based out of Jeddah. So the band is called Gorynov. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Gorynov is the name of a military issued weapon or something like that. It's like a gun or something, because that's what came up when when I tried to look them up online.
Interesting.
Um,
Didn't know.
yeah, but in any case, so the song is pretty heavy. Um, if you're this song will really appeal to people who are into old school thrash metal. Um, uh, the overall production is good. The overall sound, it's loud, it's heavy, like I said. Um, but but for me, it's not for me. I can't really talk too much about this track because I've kind of moved on from this like old school thrash sound. Um, uh, but if you're someone who's really still into that kind of stuff, and you still listen to Testament, and you still listen to maybe the older Anthrax records, and even maybe to a certain extent Slayer records, they don't really sound. To me, the most appropriate band to mention here is probably Testament, but in any case, not for me. But if you're into that old school thrash sound, then yeah, I mean, definitely this is going to be up your alley.
Yeah, it's a straightforward thrash. It kind of reminded me of early Sepultura. The guitar riff is cool. I like it. Very classic vintage thrash. Uh, the blast beats. There are some moments with blast beats, which I thought was pretty interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's if you're a thrash aficionado, you'll enjoy this track.
Yeah, go check out Gorynov Frozen Blood, out now. Check it out. Next track here is a band out of Australia, I believe. I recently discovered them, and I thought this was they just released a single as well, so I thought it'd be worth talking about them. I think it's pronounced Guild,
Gelt,
but
maybe.
yeah. Anyways, this band is right up my alley. I'm so happy that I discovered them because they're like this really interesting, hardcore, almost experimental sounding band. Because if you listen to this track, it starts off like in this typical like really aggressive, really gnarly sounding like hardcore, fast kind of band or song, and then it goes into like this open rock kind of song with like solos and but it's still aggressive, still heavy, still nasty and gnarly sounding. Yeah, if you're someone who's, you know, I would even say if you're someone who's into a bit of grindcore and hardcore crust punk or crust punk, then you'll enjoy this as well. Um, Keep pay attention to them, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this record that they're going to release.
Yeah, this is a pretty uh, crazy song. I mean, it just sounds maniacal from start to finish. Uh, it's. I'm gonna say it's not for everyone, but if you appreciate that kind of sonic quality of just crazy maniacal instrumentation, riffs, and drumming, and all of that,
Yeah,
uh, you should check this out. Yeah, I knew you would love it. I know, but yeah, it's a cool song.
Yeah.
Not catchy at all, but
No,
fun
no,
to
not
listen to.
catchy.
Not
No,
catchy,
it's not
not on the
catchy.
catchy side. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want something heavy, crusty, like just nasty sounding, and you have a tolerance for that particular brand of metal, then you'll really enjoy this. Moving on to something a little softer and a little more proggy as well. East of the Wall. That's a name I haven't heard in a while because I remember discovering this band like a really, really long time ago. Like I'm gonna say like over 10 years ago. And they came up during this time when bands like Intronaut were also starting to become popular and get well known as well. And you can see it as well. Like there's a kind of a parallel there. Like they sound a lot. They're like this sludge prog metal sound. That makes them, that defines them. So the name of the band is East of the Wall. The name of the song is Hegemony Dilemma.
Yeah.
Hegemony's Dilemma. In
Hegemony's
any case,
Dilemma. Yeah.
Hegemony's Dilemma. Um, I really like this song. I really like this band. I really like how the bass tone is pretty aggressive and highly distorted and fuzzy, and it's carrying the rhythm section you know that's pretty. I don't know how to describe it, but twangy, pretty like mathy sounding, pretty chaotic. Uh, the song is also like a it's metal, but it's soft. It has a really nice female vocal that comes in that's kind of surprises you towards the outro of the song. um, really great track. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to this record as well, and I'm really happy to hear that they're releasing a new record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the bass tone because that's the thing that stood out to me. I really really like the bass tone on this. The vocals were pretty good. I'm not really familiar with this band. It's the first time I listened to them, and I'm glad to hear the female vocals step in because that added a lot of flavor to the song, as well as the sax. I believe there's some sax instrumentation there. There's a lot of sax. It seems to be a
There's
recurring
a lot
thing
of
in the music we listen to today. For some
what
reason,
is going on.
I think that's a recurring theme today. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
I mean,
actually, it's a
it's
recurring theme I'm noticing in a lot of bands. So,
yeah,
Ken Mode, like a noise metal band, is also like they've recruited like a sax player that just plays with them full time now. There's a recent band as well that I saw live called Resin as well. They've had like a sax element in
yeah.
their live performance. We just heard Yakuza, and we just heard like my only track that I liked out of this Ocean record as well had like sax. What is going on? Why is everybody using sax right now?
There's a pattern in music right now in heavy music with a lot
Yeah,
of where there's a lot of sax, so it's interesting
it's
to
weird.
see. But yeah, overall a good song. I'm definitely curious to hear what their other songs sound like, their albums. So
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. If you're into Intronaut, I think you will enjoy this band.
Yeah.
All right. Next record, or sorry, next release here is a regional release from a band out of Dubai. They're called Verdict. No more. The band is called Verdict, and the song is called No More Graves. So for me, production wise, sound wise, good production value there. Um, the only thing I will say about this song is that it kind of felt like they're playing it safe. I mean, whatever. Objectively speaking, the overall song, the performance, the structure is there. But it felt a bit repetitive. The song felt a bit repetitive for me, and it felt like they were just playing it a bit too safe. I would really like them if they, they're obviously very talented, and I would have really liked to see them kind of open up a little bit, explore, and just, you know, do something more with their talent, or with their music writing, or what they're doing, right? Um, yeah, that's the only thing I can say is that it felt like they were playing it too safe.
I don't know. To me, it's the first time I listened to them. These
Same
guys
here.
yeah, they're talented. If you're into like the very deep guttural type of death metal's singing style, you'll enjoy this. It's it has like all these palm muted chunky riffs. Uh, kind of reminded me of Fear Factory a bit at times. Just the riffing style. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's the overall way to describe this song. I mean, I have to give it another listen to see. Maybe I'll find out some other elements there.
Yeah,
But I enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's enjoyable for sure, but you know, again, it's just it's one of those things where it's like you listen to it for the first time, it's not offensive. Again, like I said, the production is there, the I guess the songwriting is there, but am I gonna go back and listen to this song again? I'm not sure. Again, because it just felt like they played it a bit. It feels repetitive and it felt a bit too safe.
Mm.
Anyways, but that's my opinion. Let's move on to our next regional release as well. Uh, a band called Amenta, coming at you live straight from Egypt. Well, they're not coming at you live. They're not live. Okay. But in any case, I don't know why I said that. But the second release here from a band from Egypt, Amenta. So this song is a well. So okay. So the song is called Infin. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I cannot say names of songs, or I don't know if bands are just deliberately picking complicated names. Infinitum. Uh,
Infinitum sounds very
yeah,
Latin.
Infinitum. Yeah, Infinitums is the name of the song. The band is called Amenta. Um, they describe themselves as an experimental metal band. To me, listening to this track and listening to the vocal styles, it sounded like they are a progressive power metal band to me, honestly.
Mm. Yeah.
That's what I would describe them. In any case, overall, how I feel about this song. The guys are obviously super talented. All the instrumentations are on point. Uh, Also, I was really surprised by how musically also creative they are in writing the songs. The structure is there. The song is really catchy, and it's technical, but not overly technical to the point where it becomes intimidating or something that only appeals to nerds or something like that. Uh,
Yeah.
but for me, and this is a personal preference thing, I could not get over the vocals. This is another recurring theme from today's episode. For some reason, there's a lot of bands that I'm just not getting into because of the vocals. So they have this Dream Theater syndrome, what I call the Dream Theater syndrome, which is that the band is great, but I cannot get into them, or they're brought down. Not brought down. I don't mean to say that the vocals are not talented, but it's just for me. I cannot get into them because of the vocal style or the way the vocals are delivered. If you're someone who's into power metal and if you're into that style of vocals, then you're gonna love this track. It's gonna be really down your alley. But I could not get into it because of the kind of power metal feel of the overall vocals, and to some extent the track itself. Um, Otherwise, as well, I would just recommend maybe spending a little more time in production as well, because there was a weird floor tom or like a tom hit that was very abrasive, and it was very obvious, and it would just stick out immediately, like it's almost as if it was mixed separately or it was out of the mix. But in any case, I'm actually super excited and looking forward to listening to the other stuff that they have. It sounds like this band has like different sounds and different styles that they're gonna have in the future. So yeah, that's how. What did you think of it? Did you agree with me? Does it feel like a power metal song?
Absolutely. I mean, the singer does definitely give it off. I mean, you can tell he is very much influenced by the likes of Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden and Jeff Tate from Queensryche. Uh, but yeah, which to me is a good thing. I love that vocal style. I love Iron Maiden. I love that kind of singing style. Uh, I'm with you in the Dream Theater part. I don't like Dream Theater's singing style. I love the way the band plays the music, all the other instruments, but the singer throws me off a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming back to these guys, sorry, Amenta. Yeah, it sounds like the production wise, it could be a bit better, but I think the guys are super talented, very good. They have great chops. Uh, when it comes to their, the guitar playing, the drumming, all of that, uh, the singing as well. I appreciate. Uh, I'm curious to hear their other songs because yeah, they're self-declared as alternative metal, but it sounds to me closer. And I do hear some aspects of alt metal in their riffing style and things like that. Uh, I'm a huge fan of alternative metal, so I'm curious just to hear what other songs they have. But I hear again, I agree with you, more of a power metal kind
Vibe.
a vibe, which is
Yeah.
like, I'm cool with. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely worth checking out this band and keeping an eye out on them. But this track was just, I guess, not for me. Again, because of the power metal kind of feel and influence and sound of the vocals as well. And with that, we just wrapped out the music stuff and the things that we've been listening to, Mansoor. Let's talk about our main topic today. It's an interesting one. We're going to talk about our top 5 bands of all time. All right. So, Mansoor, today we decided that we want our listeners, or the 5 listeners and 10 listeners that we have, to know us a little bit better. Uh,
You guys are the best. Thanks for sticking around.
if you're sticking around, but in any case, I guess this is an opportunity for people to get to know us a little bit more.
Mhm.
Just through our top 5 bands. The bands that we really appreciate and we really like and respect. Um, so this is how we're gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna go through our top 5 bands. Um, you know, and then we're gonna mention some honorable mentions. Mansoor and I had like a pretty tough time coming up with the 5 only top bands. So we gave ourselves some leeway when we said, you know what, we're just gonna allow ourselves to give some honorable mentions. One thing I'll also mention here before we get into this, um, you might notice, you might feel like, these guys are not mentioning some of the legendary bands, that should be on a top list of top 5 bands. You got to keep in mind that we've been listening to this genre, or people tend to listen to a genre or music for a long, long time, and there's just doesn't make sense for your top 5 to remain the same since you started all the way up to now. I mean, if you had asked me in early 2000 what was my favorite band of all time, I would have put Slipknot number 1, or Limp Bizkit even. Uh, like, that's not the case anymore. So uh, just appreciate the fact that your taste in music evolves, and that whatever you consider to be a best band of all time also evolves and changes with time. And that's what I have to say about that before we get into it. Do you have anything else to add, Mansoor?
Yeah, this was one of the more difficult things that I had to think about because, I mean, as you said, it's not easy to, especially if you've been listening to this kind of music for such a long time, to narrow it down to just 5 bands. It's just super difficult, at least to me. I mean, but yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do this. So we're gonna start from number 5, and I'll go all the way to down. Go all the way to down. Go all the way down to number 1. Um, Mansoor, why don't you kick us off?
All right, so I'm gonna start with Pink Floyd for number 5.
Nice.
Uh, Legendary band. You know, I I I grew up getting into this kind of music through hard rock, and then slowly building my way up to like more heavier styles of music. But when I was introduced to Pink Floyd, it completely changed my perspective on what a good rock band can sound like. It was my sort of introduction to progressive rock. Uh, yeah, I mean, the band just completely blew my mind, and with their level of musicianship, their uh, the level of intellect and everything like that that goes into the music. Uh, Dark Side of the Moon obviously was the my first introduction to Pink Floyd, and then I just the rest is history. They made me into get into progressive rock, other bands like Rush and Genesis, and then onto progressive metal. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know that there was a world beyond the conventional structure of verse, chorus, bridge, whatever, and that type of style. But Pink Floyd completely changed my perspective, so I appreciate them in that sense.
Yeah, Mansour's number five top five band is Pink Floyd. All right, let's get into mine now. So, for me, my fifth top band of all time is going to be Mastodon. So, Mastodon is a band that played a huge role in also my kind of musical upbringing, and if, and having my musical taste evolve a little bit as well. So I discovered them through a little number called Blood and Thunder off of the band's like second album, Leviathan. And you know, back then, I was really predominantly listening to new metal, and I didn't know that a band could be heavy, but without being death metal or being like into like this extreme kind of genre, right? So um, just like listening to that opening riff of Blood and Thunder just made me fall in love immediately with them. And then I started going through their discography. Um, you know, a friend of mine said, you know what, if you really like this song, if you really like Leviathan, you should check out Remission. And then especially March of the Fire Ants, right? And it's this huge, ugly, disgusting song with like this really sludgy, fuzzy kind of tones, and that also at the same time goes into this big, huge melodic element. Um, and then from there, Mastodon is also obviously a band that kind of, releases concept albums. Blood Mountain was one of the greatest albums of all time. Leviathan was one of the greatest albums of all time. And then forget it, Crack the Sky, like going into like this prog rock kind of sound. Really amazing record, amazing band, and that's why they're fifth on my top five albums of all time or bands of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I love Mastodon, especially the first five albums. They came at the right time when new metal was kind of starting to fizzle out. I wanted to hear at the times really good modern metal that wasn't new metal, and I think I'll say, in each decade there's the one band that carries the flag for metal. For me, in the 2000s, it was definitely Mastodon. I've seen them a couple of times live, and it's always been a great experience. The first time was at Desert Rock, but I've seen them in other
Yeah,
places, and they put on an amazing show. Uh, to me, I love how their sound evolved. Although the last maybe two albums I'm not really into,
yeah,
uh, but yeah, I loved Mastodon, and especially Bron Daler. His drumming style completely changed my perspective on what a good metal drumming should sound like. Because I remember at the time everybody was into like playing super fast in the form of blast beats. That was a thing, especially in the tech death. The people that were around me, that was what they were into. But when Bron Daler stepped in, he was playing all these weird drum patterns in a very fast way, in a very creative way. So yeah, I just love Mastodon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the drumming that stands out. He's basically like the way he described it. He was basically a guitarist playing drums. So like he was basically playing fills and drums that go with the guitars. So that's why it's like kind of crazy and it's all over the place almost like it's playing along with the guitars. Um, and yeah, like you said, it's Mastodon is number five because they're a great example of a band that with every record, their sound has evolved in a really awesome and good way, and they bring the goods. Like a new record comes out, you know that it's going to be good. Unfortunately, I do agree with you. The records after Crack the Sky have not been really my favorite, and I have not really been paying close attention to them. I mean, you can make an argument that Emperor of Sand was a good record, um, uh, but they're not. After Crack the Sky, they kind of kind of fell off my radar a little bit. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
my number five band of all time. All right, Mansoor, what's your number four?
Number four, I'm gonna go with Pantera.
Oh,
Uh, Pantera is, I would have to say, maybe my all time favorite metal band. Um, you know, Dimebag is my guitar hero. Uh, his style is just, I find, very unique. Although you can tell, of course, who his influences were. Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, those guys. Uh, but yeah, I mean, to me, Pantera. I said, Mastodon was a band that carried the flag in the 2000s. Pantera definitely the band that did that in the 90s. Uh, the groove metal style. There, you can make an argument that they were the pioneers of that sound. Although there's a debate in the metal world that maybe it was a band called X Order, but I don't want to get into that. Pantera perfected that sound. Uh, they came at a time when arguably metal was becoming less. It was starting to become uncool in the 90s. Alternative and grunge was taking over, but Pantera never compromised. They stuck to their guns throughout. They became even less commercial with each album. Um, their songs were fun to listen to. They were very energetic, at moments kind of dark, maybe depressing thematically. But yeah, they were awesome, man. I mean, just the tightness of the rhythm section, Vinnie Paul's amazing drumming,
yeah,
Phil's great vocals from like those, yeah, that hardcore style of harsh vocals to singing in those high kind of Rob Halford-esque type of vocals on Cowboys from Hell. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about them, and you can definitely hear their influence in every band that came afterwards.
yeah.
I think they've influenced so many bands. It's hard not to hear a bit of Pantera in every band, modern metal band.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you something. Like Dimebag's playing has been a huge influence on every guitarist probably
Yeah,
that grew up during that era, and those pinch harmonics, his signature like pinch harmonics playing that was a huge influence on a lot of people. Hugely influential band. Um, amazing ability to write groovy, catchy metal songs. Um, yeah, like I can't say anything more. I can't add anything more to that. Pantera are hugely influential and one of the best metal bands of all time.
yeah. Let me just start. Let me just end it by saying, when we're talking about Pantera, I guess you can safely assume that we're talking about the '90s stuff
I mean, yeah, we're
onwards,
not
not
going to
the,
be talking
not
about the hair metal. I
the
mean,
hair
when you
metal
said they're
days.
not compromising, when you said they don't compromise their sound, I was like, hey, they compromise a little, dude. They went from hair metal to metal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
They went from tight spandex to tattoos and like shaving their heads and
yeah.
dyeing their beards red. Yeah, no, not the hair metal stuff, dude. Okay.
Oh man.
All right, so let's get into my number four band here, and it is Tool. Tool is my fourth top five band. I don't know what else I can. I don't know what else to say here. Um, you know, the first time I was exposed to Tool was Lateralis, and it just how Pink Floyd was your opening ground to kind of exploring prog rock and like these big songs, and opening your mind to like a different type of metal and rock. Lateralis did that for me. At that point, I was just listening to maybe like I can't remember even, but it's like Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe Metallica, obviously, things like that. New metal, a lot of new metal, obviously, and then a band like Tool comes along, and you buy that album, and it's like this weird conceptual album, and the album artwork is like this weird transparent thing that you open up, and it's and it just opens your eyes to this world that music can be conceptual, and there can be like a huge story behind it, but it also can be very well written and very catchy, uh, technical, proggy, whatever you want to call it. They've released some of the best and catchiest songs of all time while also being technically proficient. So this is a huge kind of achievement for me, because usually sometimes when you write something that's really technical, the writing, the catchiness, or um, the musicality of it gets thrown behind a little bit. But Tool is one of those bands that are always able to achieve like those two things together. And while their last record might have not hit home for me. I really did not enjoy that record in particular, but everything that they have released before that has been a kind of a hit for me, and I thoroughly enjoy those records. And for that reason, you know, I mean, Maynard's vocals, Adam's like kind of subtle guitar playing, the bass, the way the way how important the bass is, and how an important aspect of the music structure it is, and of course Danny's drumming. Like this is a huge aspect of what makes Tool to what it is today. Um, I mean, other than the storytelling and the thematic and the lyrics and the themes, which are very interesting and very important. Anyways, I got nothing else to add more to this. Tool, hugely influential and one of the most important bands to me.
What's your favorite Tool album?
Oh, it's really hard to say. Anima. I don't know. I don't know if I would say Anima is my favorite. Undertow is really good. Um, Letter I would say maybe Letter I'm gonna go ahead and say Letter Maybe it's not the most popular choice, but Letter is an amazing record. It's such a well written
Yeah,
and thematically and just everything about the record is just almost perfect.
awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge Tool fan myself. I love that band for all the reasons that you've mentioned. Very forward thinking band, very unique, band. And for me, 10,000 Days was, my favorite, it's my favorite Tool album. Uh, I love songs like The Bot and Jam By, all those kind of songs. But yeah, also their other work. Again, I love the effort that goes into the visuals as well as the music. They obviously don't take anything for granted in that sense. Yes, just like you, I was a bit disappointed with their last album, but there's the one song on the album, the closing track, Tempest, is just mind blowing. It's insane from just start to finish. It's like, 13-minute song or something like that. Just
Yeah.
absolute trip. Yeah, I mean, Justin Chancellor, one of my favorite bass players. Uh, yeah, I mean, fantastic band, just
Yeah.
legends in my opinion.
They're one of the first bands that blew my mind by the fact that in their video clips, you don't see the band playing.
Hmm.
and it was always like the importance of the visual aspect and having all these weird stop motion animation and um, claymation in some cases and acting and all of that stuff. Um, I mean, hugely fascinating, and was hugely important to me as well, because I didn't know, like, it created like that also like a kind of a mystery around the band as well, growing up listening to them and seeing their video clips on TV, before there was like a strong presence of the internet, you know. And in any case, amazing band. My number four pick. What's your number three, Mansour?
Okay, number three, and I'm gonna go with Pearl Jam. Uh,
So far your
I'm
list has been all classics, so you're making up for my
yeah.
lack of classics.
I mean, I grew up a big fan of grunge music, and I put that in quotation marks because I don't feel like all the grunge bands sound the same. I don't know if there's a grunge sound, but that's a debate for another time. But in
For
any
another time.
case, I love Pearl Jam. I love every album they put out. I've been listening to them since the 90s. 10, their magnum opus, is obviously a classic, but they've also had many other, great albums. To me, it's they did not stick to one sound. They've grown, they've evolved, they've yeah, they they put out constantly, just great music throughout. Eddie's voice is awesome, is amazing. They might not be the most technically proficient, band, but that's why I enjoy them because of their simplicity. But they're very skilled musicians, obviously. Jeff Ament, is an underrated bass player in my opinion. Dave Abruzzese, who played on Versus and Vitalogy, is an amazing drummer, and as well as Matt Cameron, who plays for Soundgarden. Yeah, I love the fact that on many of their albums the band did not. So they became popular during the MTV era, when
Yeah,
bands had to release music videos in order to become popular, through MTV and those kind of channels. But Pearl Jam, from Versus onward, refused to do that. They decided to stick more to things like radio and live shows, until maybe
yeah,
Yield, when they released a music video, which was like an animated music video. So to me, that was a very, very, very bold move, and a very honest move on their part. Uh, and especially when it comes to the live music part, I love how on every tour since 2000, what they do is, after every tour, they release those live shows, on digital format or CDs. I love how they do that, uh, as a way to give fans, quality recordings of their live concerts. Uh, they're very much following like the Grateful Dead type of school of music distribution.
yeah.
So I really appreciate that about their music and their artwork. A lot of effort goes into the way they package their albums, the artwork, the sleeve, and everything.
Sure.
So great band.
So here's what's interesting. I'm not the biggest Pearl Jam fan. Like, I wouldn't say, when I say that, I mean I don't follow them. Like, I only know one record. However, that one record, 10, is hugely influential. And it's one of my, probably, if I've made a list of top 10 albums, it's going to be there. So that's what's funny, is that I don't really actively listen and like Pearl Jam that much. But that record, I cannot tell you the number of times I've had that record on repeat. Such good songs on that record, from front to back, and
Yeah.
songs like Jeremy and Black, and even even Flow, are really good. So yeah, great pick, man. Absolutely. My third band on this list is Nails. Nails is a
Mm.
super heavy grindcore, Well, they're okay, so they are just a grindcore band. That's the sound that they have, but people usually describe them as a grindcore or heavy punk band with a lot of death metal influence as well. They are one of those bands that also popularized the use or the reuse of the HM2 heavy metal boss pedal, right? That we talked about in the news. But in any case, um, I instantly fell in love with this band when I first the when I heard their record, "You Will Never Be One of Us." Um, the record is not particularly long, right? And their songs are not particularly long. That record clocks in at, I want to say, like what, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe even less. Um, but they are so good at what they do, and I love listening to every record that they have. They just write good music. I'll just say what the lead singer described his music, like the way in an interview he was talking about his music. Basically, he said our songs are short, and the way we write music is that we take the best parts. You know how sometimes there's a song that you really like, that you might like only like a certain part of it, like there's a part of it that really gets good,
Yeah.
and you can't wait to get to that part. Basically, that's what they did. They just took all the good parts of whatever songs that they like, or whatever they like to write, and they just kept it as a song. So no filler at all. All their songs are just the best things that they've written, and they just put it out there. In any case, full of energy, very aggressive, very heavy albums, um, and they're three on my list because they played a huge influence on me on getting into hardcore, and or just basically getting me into grindcore, hardcore, and punk scene. So for sure, um, the third favorite band of all time.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, Nails, You'll Never Be One of Us. Incredible album. They do cut out a lot of the fat from their music, and you end up just listening to just great music from start to finish. I love their brand of like very aggressive, very heavy music. And whenever I listen to bands who try to do that kind of music, they fall flat. But Nails just it's just an incredible band.
Yeah. What is your third
Awesome.
favorite band, Mansoor?
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I think you mean second.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry. Yeah, your second
we're,
favorite band.
we're down to two.
All right.
So
Yeah.
my second favorite band, uh, again, in the grunge scene, Soundgarden.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I'm a huge Soundgarden fan. I think Chris Cornell is the greatest singer ever. Uh, you know, he's just a legend. I'm so sad that he's obviously he's gone. Actually, I think yesterday or 2 days ago was the anniversary of his death. Uh, really saddened by that. But in any case, Soundgarden. Uh, yeah, I love how if you each and every album sounds different, uh, but they're all great. I mean, the first album is a bit of an acquired taste, but from the second album, Ultra Mega OK onwards, all those albums I just loved. Chris Cornell has the most powerful voice in rock, whether he's singing in a very melodic way or screaming his head off. Uh, he's just has an amazing voice. In songs like to me, like what Beyond the Wheel, New Damage. Just pay attention to his singing on those songs. It's just amazing. And I don't know if there's any singer who can sing like that since Chris came. I mean, there are some who try to sing like Chris Cornell. There are many great singers out there, obviously, but to me, he was the best. As well, Soundgarden are known for their odd time signatures in their songs and their unconventional tunings in their music. But when you listen to them, you don't really notice. Maybe you might not notice it if you're a casual listener, and that's just the power of their music because it sounds very catchy, very accessible, but they're playing around with those odd time signatures and those different alternative tunings. Matt Cameron, amazing drummer. Uh, Not a very straightforward rock drummer. Even when he drums for Pearl Jam, sometimes I feel like his style is a bit dry uh, because it's more straightforward. But on Soundgarden, that's where he really shines. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and last I think on the last episode you mentioned how when you saw Sum 41, their singer, sorry, not their singer, their guitarist,
Guitarist.
Dave
Yeah.
Buksh, he's of I think South Asian origin. For me, it was Soundgarden because Kim Thayil is of Indian origin, and when that was my first exposure to the possibility of metal bringing people together from different backgrounds. And in the beginning, they had like an Asian bass player as well, Hiro Yamamoto, but then he left and he was replaced by another bass player who's also incredible, Ben Shepherd. Um, but yeah, Soundgarden. That's my third. Oh, sorry, second favorite band. Yeah.
All right, great. No, I completely understand your pick there, and yeah, Mansour's second pick, Soundgarden. Let's move on to my second pick here, and I get the sense it's a band that you like as well. I don't know how much you like them because you always talk about them as well. I noticed that you didn't drop their name a lot. So my second pick, Intronaut. So
Mm,
Intronaut is a hugely influential band on me as a prog metal, prog sludge metal band. The
yeah.
first, the way I was exposed to them, or my first exposure to them, was their record "Valley of Smoke," um,
Hmm.
and that is one of the best records I've heard. And again, so the thing that did this record did for me, or that band did for me when I first was exposed to that album, was that, oh, you realize that you could be heavy but slow at the same time, and you can write like these big melodic parts as well that go along with these sludgy, heavy, slow kind of parts. Um, and then from there, like they keep with every record that they release, their sound change, slightly changes. You can't say that, oh, they become something completely different and they experiment with different sounds. They don't, but there is a slight variation in the sound, and they keep getting tighter and more focused, and it just gets better and better. Um, I guess for me, if I was to pick it would be really hard for me to pick my favorite record for them, but the direction of Last Things is probably like one of the best records. Like if we make a top 5 albums of all time, that album would be definitely there. The direction of
Yeah.
Last Things is one of the best records of all time that you can listen to. Um, Big melodic parts, heavy parts. This record has everything, and it's just so pleasant to listen to. I don't know if the vocals is for everyone, but I'm really into the vocals. I really love the vocal style on their records. But
Mm,
again, if you're listening to Intronaut, you're listening to it for the instrumentation. You're listening to these big proggy elements. You're listening to big melodic elements. Um, they're super technical when it comes to their time signature. The drumming is one of the best. Like the drumming on their records is
absolutely.
some of the best. I think that they have the drummer of Cynic, right?
Do they?
Or currently they have like as a session drummer or someone who records with them and who goes live with them is the drummer
Mm,
from Cynic. Uh,
okay.
but whoever did the drumming for it, it's amazing, mind blowing stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that I mentioned the favorite that, oh, the direction of last light things is the best record, but all their records are amazing. Even the last record they released,
Mm,
Fluid Existential Inversions, is an amazing record. And you would not go wrong if you just go and pop that record in just to listen to what Intronaut sounds like, because it really
yeah.
embodies them. It is, again, they keep getting better, they keep getting more focused, and their songs sound better. Huge influence on me. And and the last thing I'll say as well is their guitarist Sasha Dunable is also like a great example of someone who um, you know is a musician but also like thinks about how to diversify, and he's an entrepreneur. He has his own like guitar store, and his own he has his own guitar brand called Dunable, and they make some of the most beautiful instruments that I've seen. Very subtle, but at the same time, very well built. And they're gaining a lot of popularity. A lot of bands are using their guitars. So everyone from Russian Circles, Primitive Man, even big bands like Devil. What's the name of the band? Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears
Uh,
Prada. Yeah, they're usually huge metalcore band. They use their guitars. So
mm,
Intronaut,
I didn't know
second
that.
favorite band of all time.
Oh, amazing! I love Intronaut. My first introduction to them was the album Prehistoricisms when it came out. It just completely blew me away. I mean, at the time, I was kind of not listening to many of the harsher kind of super heavy stuff, but I think that they brought me back to it because they used a lot of harsh vocals and crazy heavy style of playing on those earlier albums. But that album was just amazing. And to me, I have this thing where I love when the closing track is the best track on the album.
Mm.
The closing track on that album is like a 16-minute instrumental song that I just love. It's insane. It's called The Reptilian Brain. But
Yeah.
even the other songs on the album were just so great with like they're very atmospheric, very melodic in some sense, but also extremely heavy. And it's just a good balance of all of those aspects. Um, but yeah, and even the follow up album to that, Valley of Smoke, had some pretty good moments on there. I loved it. Um, their last album, Fluid Existential Inversions, was my pandemic album. Actually,
Oh,
it
okay.
came out at the height of the pandemic when I was stuck at home and I was listening to it nonstop. I
Yeah.
loved it, man. It's just it's a
Yeah.
fantastic
That opening
album.
riff in Cubenesis.
Yeah,
I just love that. Yeah.
yeah. Even the closing track on that album is just fantastic. That was a highlight of that album.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
No,
choice, man.
they Intronaut, like, I don't like to use the word perfect, but they're almost perfect at getting that blend of ambience, melody, and
Hmm.
heaviness. Like, they're just so good at blending those things. And again, they write really long songs, like you mentioned. Like, they have 17-minute songs, 10-minute songs, but they're not a chore. They're not a chore to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unlike the ocean, who have 5-minute songs that are so boring and are
Yeah,
really like annoying to listen to. In any case,
yeah.
Intronaut, my second favorite. All right, we're getting down to number one here. I'm really excited to hear your number one. Yeah, drum roll. I'm really excited to hear your number one, Mansoor.
Number one, I'd have to say
Wait,
Led
drum
Zeppelin.
roll. Listen up.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna, I was gonna do a drum roll. Anyways, okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay. So
Led Zeppelin. All right, yeah, let's go.
Led Zeppelin. Yeah, I love Led Zeppelin. You know, to me they're just a legendary band, and they're legends for a reason. I think every album of theirs is great except for the last one. They've done like straightforward rock and roll songs, no pun intended. They can write epic tunes, very experimental songs. You know, very folksy, acoustic songs. Even some of the ballads. They're just I don't know. They managed to write like amazing music in all those different styles. They're very bold and when it comes to experimentation. Their live performances, everything. I think Robert Plant is one of the greatest singers ever with his vocal range and his singing style. Sometimes it's not for everyone, and I can understand that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, their music can be beautiful. It could be very dark. It could be very, experimental. They didn't stick to one sound. They've done the straightforward bluesy rock type of classic rock sound, but they've also ventured into more progressive sounds. So yeah, I love John Paul Jones, the bass player. I don't think he gets enough credit as a bass player, and obviously John Bonham, the drummer who was just one of the more aggressive drummers during his time. Uh, yeah, Jimmy Page, also a legendary guitarist. The, okay, if they're a bit controversial for stealing some ideas and not giving credit to some of the musicians whom they 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 borrowed music from. But and I kind of agree with that they shouldn't have done that. But uh, nonetheless, I think they're very original. I think they're just an amazing band. I'm glad to have seen Robert Plant live during Desert Rock
Yep.
when he came to debate. That was an amazing performance. So yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, again, no denying, like the bands that you're mentioning are quite influential and important, and there's no denying what their the influence that they have played. All right, so my number one pick. Do you mind give me a drum roll, please? And my number one is Converge. All right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Converge is my all-time favorite band. I basically have not stopped listening to that band since I've, I've, um, I've discovered them. Um, a lot of the maybe a lot of the bands that I've mentioned in my list, you I might drop off and not listen to them for a while and then come back to them. But Converge is one of those bands that I'm at least listening to one of their songs or something like that at least once a week. You know what I mean? Since
Mm.
I've discovered them. So um, there's a couple of things to unpack here. I mean, Converge for me, um, I've discovered them from yeah, pretty late actually. Their album, well, they have a long history of being early pioneers of the metalcore genre
Mm.
from that Boston area, apparently. So I'm not a historian, but this is what I keep hearing, and this is what I know is that apparently, like metalcore, the genre, as it was known back then, was basically what it is: metal with hardcore influences. Okay. It's not this flavor of metal that we know today as bands like As I Lay Dying and Trivium and I don't know who else, like these kind of different bands like yeah, The Devil Wears Prada and stuff like that,
Mm.
back then it was, if you listen to the early Converge records, that was what metalcore was. And then it evolved and changed and became what it is in the early 2000s and so on. I've discovered, so to that point I discovered them late. I discovered them during a much later era during their time, which was during the No Heroes era.
Mm.
But that record blew my mind. First of all, Jacob's vocals, to me, like I've never heard such harsh vocals like that before, that are basically nonsensical and just loud screaming and shouting. That felt like another instrument at this point. It didn't feel like it was vocals. It just felt like another sonic instrument that just adds to the overall songs. Um, and then later, I discovered that they released an album called Jane Doe, which was a hugely popular release and
Yeah.
considered by many, for many reasons, as one of the most influential and best metalcore albums of all time. Just because of the production quality, just because of the sonic quality of that album and what they were able to achieve, and the influence that it played. Um, Regardless, for me, Converge are the number one album for not just for those reasons, just for their influence, but because of the quality of the music and the albums that they have released. So, Axe to Fall, um, The Dusk in Us, um, All We Love We Leave Behind, just You Fail Me. These are all great records, and I cannot. If you ask me to pick one, I cannot, because they're all like different. They all bring different things. So again, Converge is one of those bands, like Mastodon. With every record, they bring something new. Although, like by and large, it's a punk, metalcore, hardcore band, but there's a different flavor to each record and a different sound.
Mm.
Um, to top all of this, Kurt Ballou is the guitarist in this band. He's been producing all of their efforts, and he is a producer as well and a mixing engineer that has produced and mixed a lot of my favorite sounding records of all time. So Nails, for example, um, "You'll Never Be One of Us," it has been produced by Kurt Ballou,
Mm.
and I believe outside of his work in Converge, he's a huge influence as well on the metal scene and the hardcore scene and the punk scene, and a huge influence on me. So it's just so many angles and so many things from this band. It's not just the music, it's also the different band members and their role on influencing my musical taste and me as a person, as Muzaj, as someone as well who's trying to be a music engineer and who loves being a music producer and doing this stuff. Their last
Amazing.
record, to me, kind of not my favorite record at all. Like Blood Moon, it's great. It's a great experimentation there, but I look forward to the second one. But it was a little bit disappointing, I guess. Otherwise, yeah, Converge, my number one pick.
Well, very cool choice. I can't say much about Converge other than that. The only album that I'm familiar with was Jane Doe.
Yeah,
That was that's a very very good album. It's a very solid album from start to finish. I can definitely see how they shaped the genre afterwards. How there a lot of bands sort of take from them. But yeah, definitely Kurt Ballou, legendary producer as well. I have to now. I feel more compelled to listen to their other work. Honestly, uh, I don't know why I didn't pay much attention to them after Jane Doe, but yeah, that's a great album. Uh, Excellent choice. I would say a bit underrated. They do deserve more recognition just for their influence, I guess.
yeah. I guess um, it's kind of interesting. I mean, yeah, they maybe in our scene and like in the Middle East, maybe or something like that, they don't get enough recognition. But I feel like people who are in the hardcore and punk scene completely recognize Converge and know their influence. I mean,
Oh yeah,
If you go on Reddit, the metalcore Reddit
yeah.
page, literally the thumbnail that is the Jane Doe album cover. So
Hmm.
if you go to the metalcore Reddit, it's the Jane Doe album. So they people like in the metalcore, hardcore, and punk scene do recognize Converge. But you're right, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, maybe they don't get enough recognition. Um, and yeah, definitely, if you like Jane Doe, then yeah, I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on the next albums that they have released and your thoughts on them. I would recommend go to Axe to Fall. Axe to Fall is definitely like you cannot fail. If you go listen to that record, it has Steve Von Till in it from Neurosis
Hmm.
on a beautiful track. It has Genghis Tron. It has interesting guest appearances, and the songs also vary from being like this math metal punk kind of crazy Dillinger Escape Plan sounding things to just pure metal sounding to pure punk to just fantastic band and fantastic records. Could not recommend them enough to anyone, and my top pick of all time.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right,
So,
now we're done with our top five. Do you want to go quickly through your honorable mentions?
so many to mention. Yeah, I'll just say honorable mentions. These are the bands that I love and I've loved for the longest time. Deftones, Iron Maiden, Tool, Mastodon, Killing Joke, Caius, Rush, Fear Factory, and some of the more recent ones like All Them Witches is a band that I
Oh,
really, really like.
I love all them
King
witches.
Gizzard,
Yeah,
fantastic bands. King Buffalo, more on the contemporary side. Maybe Nirvana, Jimi Hendrix, all those kind of bands. There's a
yeah,
lot to mention, honestly.
yeah, yeah. There is. Okay, so I'll go quickly through my list as well here, and I'll mention very quickly a little bit why yani
Sorry,
something a little bit of a
one
what.
more. Primus.
Primus. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you did mention last time in one of the episodes how much you like them. Okay, so the first on my list here is Sixth. Sixth is if you don't know who Sixth is, shame on you. You should go listen to them now. If you like bands like Periphery and like if you like all these new prog metal bands like Animals as Leaders and Periphery and all of that, go listen to Sixth. Then of course the Dillinger Escape Plan, Every Time I Die. The Contortionist, one of the best prog metal, modern prog metal bands, and they released like a top metal, album of all time. If we do that list one day, they're going to be definitely on it. Protest the Hero, huge influence on me, and one of the best bands of all time as well. The Red Chord, the Black Dahlia Murder, Nocturnal, top 5 album of all time. He is Legend, one of the best, catchiest metalcore, southern metalcore bands of all time. Definitely worth listening to. Alexis on Fire, post hardcore, post punk, whatever you want to call them, but one of the best bands of all time. And then finally, Knocked Loose, one of my favorite all time modern hardcore bands. Definitely worth listening to and checking out.
It's amazing.
And with that, our top 5 and honorable mentions are done. That's a wrap on our 4th episode here of the anti-shuffle podcast, the anti-shuffle
Anti-shuffle.
podcast, anti-shuffle podcast.
These choices are subject to change, at least on my part.
Yeah,
Who knows? We
yeah.
might add more.
Yeah. Tell us. It would be great if you guys mention in your comments if you agree with our topics, if you think they suck, if you think they should have added other bands, if whatever. Just tell us what do you think. Maybe even tell us your top 5 bands of all time, so
Exactly.
we can have a conversation
Exactly.
about that. But with that, thank you for sticking around and thank you for listening to us. If you have any comments, emails, if you have emails, if you have any comments or suggestions, or if you're a band with a demo, or if you want to sing, if you're a band with any kind of interesting piece of news, please remember that you can email us or direct message us. But always best to reach us by email, hate.mail@antishuffle.com. That is hate.mail@antishuffle.com. Or you can also feel free to DM us on all of our social media platforms at antishufflepod. That's one word, at antishufflepod. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Tell all your friends and your metal communities. Tell your parents. Tell your aunties. Tell your grandma. Tell everybody about our podcast, and help us grow. And with that, it is a wrap. My name is Abdullah Mozej. With me as well as Mansour. See you
Thank you.
guys in the next episode.
See you.